The salami effect started in the 1940s in Hungary, and it was introduced to show you how one slice of change that is pre-communism. I was born in Budapest, Hungary, and I grew up knowing about fascism and socialism and communism. And one thing does lead to another. It's just like a salami. You take it and you cut a piece and you introduce something new, like, for example, free buses, and people go, yay, free stuff. And then later on, you take another slice of salami and you introduce grocery stores that are government-run grocery stores with really, really low prices. Salami said that he is going to build 5 or 6 government-run grocery stores. Well, that's great. It's going to take him $70 million for startup, and he has to take money from taxes, taxing the rich and giving it to the poor, to make these grocery stores run. And the difference between capitalism and socialism or communism is, in capitalism, the stores make a profit. In socialism, it's run by the government, and they're not making a profit, but in order to sustain, they have to take other people's money, i.e. tax money, to keep it going. It's called the salami effect for a reason, because you cut thin slices of salami and you introduce thin little things one at a time until it becomes more and more and more, until you run out of salami or you run out of other people's money. Another thing that Mandami wants to do is universal health care. Well, that is awesome. When we lived in Hungary, my mom had to get up early, take the trolley, and stand in line for hours just to see a healthcare professional, doctor or a nurse or anybody. She was pregnant with me, and after 3 or 4 hours of standing in line, 9 times out of 10, the facility closed down and said, come back tomorrow. So she had to go home, get up again the next day, and see if she can get some kind of health care. And heaven forbid they issue you medicine, any kind of medicine, because it's either totally outrageous and you can't afford it, or it's not available. That is socialism, one slice at a time. And so what happens when that keeps happening? Well, you get homelessness because the socialists believe that they want to control rent. You control the rent by not raising the prices, lowering them, and mandating what an apartment or a home can cost to live in. But that way, the owners, they don't have the money to fix it up. So the housing, apartments, everything, fall short of being healthy. And then a lot of times people have moved in with other family members or friends or whatever, and having, 8 people live in a 1-bedroom is pretty tough. But again, when you mandate how much rent can be, it sounds great. People say, oh yes, my rent is not going to exceed $500. But where are you getting that money? You're getting that money from other people's money. You're taxing people. And you say, oh, I'm just going to tax the rich. Well, let me just tell you, when the rich get fed up, they leave your state. They leave and they're like, I've earned every single penny. I pay my people, I pay my insurance, I pay everything, and I've earned that money. I am not about to give you 50% of it, so that you can mess it up and mess up your city, by giving my money away to people that actually really don't deserve it. Yes, there are a lot of poor people, but you know what? Poor people, let me just tell you about poor people. I used to work for the city, and we gave out benefits to poor people. And these poor people, some of them were real, would come in, give them housing for very, very cheap, daycare for nothing, education. We would actually send them to school on our dime. They would go, and then they would go get their nails done or their hair done, come in with weaves and Gucci purses and whatever, because they sold their food stamps. Some people that came in to my desk were getting $3,000 and $4,000 in food stamps for their family a month. You tell me you can't live on that? I don't care how high the price of groceries are. When you're getting $3,000 a month, yes, you're probably feeding a bunch of kids, but most of them were selling it so they can get their nails done. It's just a big circle. And again, with the salami slices. And eventually, the salami runs out of slices. And what happens is, like happened in Hungary, so you start food lines, and that's like food stamps here, but food lines in Europe were like, you get up at 4 o'clock, you ride the trolley for an hour, you stand in line for bread and sugar and flour and rice, and 9 times out of 10, by the time it was your turn to get your little bag, they ran out, or they closed down and they sent you home, and you had to come back again at 4 o'clock in the morning to get some food. So people don't understand that people like Mandami, who gives you one slice at a time, free buses that are never gonna be, slice, free health care, slice, free housing, slice, free education, slice. There you go. And you end up, your city is totally devastated. Actually, they rule. They keep you so poor that you have to depend on the government. And there you go, another slice. All right, this is what happens. Be real careful who you vote for, because it could happen to you.